Salem is not a very walkable city, but don't worry because in this video I'm going to give you the best walkable neighborhoods in Salem. I relocated to Salem from Portland, Oregon, and I was very used to walking around Portland and getting everywhere I needed to go on foot. So when I relocated to Salem, I did not realize that my lifestyle and my joyful walks throughout downtown would soon be coming to an end. If you are anything like me, the idea of having a neighborhood that is close to downtown Salem is simply a dream. But the only problem is Salem is not a very walkable city. But don't worry because in this video, I'm going to give you the best walkable neighborhoods in Salem. My goal for this video is to help you better understand what neighborhoods would fit your lifestyle best, especially if you're like me and you love to lazily walk. And I say lazy because by walking, I mean like turtle pace, slug pace, maybe a snail. I go very slow, and that's my favorite kind of walking. My name is Clarity Odd, and I'm a local real estate agent here in Salem who specializes in relocations. Just like you, I relocated to Salem, and now I get to make videos all about this amazing city for you, my future clients. If you want to work with us in the home buying process, go down to the description of this video where you're going to find all of our contact information. Reach out so that we can help you. I want to first start by defining what I mean by walkable. In my own head, when I think of walkable, it's not necessarily a neighborhood that can or cannot be walked in, but it's a neighborhood that you can open up your front door and you can go walk to your favorite cafe, your favorite boutique, or your favorite bar for a cocktail with your handsome ass husband at happy hour after work because you're just exhausted. That is my definition of walkable, and that's the definition I'm going to be using to guide this conversation. It's important to know that this is not a conversation limited to somebody's physical ability to walk. My definition of walkable is based on the actual distance from the neighborhoods we're going to talk about to the center of downtown Salem. First on my list is the neighborhood of downtown Salem. How damn convenient, huh? This area of town is called Central Area, and I've never really known if that encapsulates all of downtown and the residential area that I'm talking about, or if I should just call this area simply downtown Salem. So let's look at a map here so you know exactly where I'm talking about. This map that we are looking at right now is my free Google guide to Salem. This is my attempt at cataloging all of the places that I talk about in Salem. So if you want to visit this map on your own, just go down to the description of this video where you're gonna see a link. As you can see here, there's just a little section north of the heart of downtown Salem, and it does have a mix of residential and commercial buildings. But the area that I really want to focus on is just this little few block radius that's not yet considered the Grant neighborhood, but I wouldn't necessarily call it downtown living. It almost feels like there's this no man's land where downtown Salem is transitioning back into residential living. But this neighborhood is by far the closest you can get to downtown Salem. If you're one of my internet friends who likes the idea of living in the heart of downtown Salem, you're gonna be sad to learn that downtown Salem really doesn't have much residential living. What you do find in regards to residential living in downtown Salem is just a handful of condo buildings that are no more than 5 stories high. So this means that there's an incredibly limited amount of inventory of condos in downtown. And you better bet that when those condos go up for sale, they do not last long because they are such a rarity to find one on the market. Do I have the urge to rhyme rarity with clarity? Yes, I do. So if you had dreams of living in downtown Salem, this video might help you understand some alternative options for you. Now, the central area, aka downtown-esque living in Salem, the homes here are going to be older and smaller homes than you can find in many of the other neighborhoods around Salem. In this area of town, one of the unique features is Mill Creek. Mill Creek is a creek that's in Salem's flood zone, so you do need to be mindful that if you are looking at a home in this area, that flood insurance might be necessary for you. But the homes here can be incredibly unique and charming, and they are by far the closest to downtown Salem. The type of lifestyle that you're going to be able to have in this neighborhood is going to be of 100% walkability. You can be in downtown in 5 to 10 minutes. I say 10 minutes because even though it's really close, it would take me 10 minutes because that's just how slow of a walker I am. But if you're like my husband and you're 6'2" and you can just get there in a blink of an eye, it might even take you 2 minutes. In this area, you are going to have easy access to the farmers market on the weekends. You're going to have easy access to the waterfront, Minto Brown Park, and the hospital is just going to be about a 15-minute walk through downtown if you are working at the Salem Hospital. If you're enjoying this video so far, give it a thumbs up and go down to the comments and tell me which neighborhood in Salem you're most interested in learning about. The next neighborhood on our list is the neighborhood of Grant. This neighborhood is located just north of the center area and is almost entirely made up of residential zoning. In this neighborhood, you are going to find a lot of arts and crafts bungalows, Cape Cod style homes, farmhouses, and ever so often you're going to find larger 4-square homes. Which, fun fact, Sears used to sell those 4-square homes in kits that you could order through the mail, and they were something like $10,000. Some of these homes have been updated, but it's very common for a lot of these homes to have been occupied for 30, 40, 50 years and never been touched. So if you're one of my babes who likes a pink bathroom, you're going to have a very good chance of finding that in the Grant neighborhood. The Grant neighborhood does have a local park called Grant Park. And if you're looking for a Spanish-English immersion school, the Grant Community School is going to be a very good option for your little elementary school kiddo. This neighborhood is very popular with anyone who is looking for a very walkable neighborhood, which means that homes do tend to sell fairly quickly in this neighborhood when they are priced appropriately. The vibe of the neighborhood reminds me a lot of the quintessential Portland neighborhoods because there are so many tree-lined streets with old maples and oaks and cherry blossom trees that fill the neighborhood with such a cozy, snuggly Pacific Northwest vibe. The Grant neighborhood was one of the first neighborhoods in Salem to do street painting at some of their intersections, and I think that this is a real testament to the creativity and the artistic flair that this neighborhood has to offer. If you're looking for a home that needs renovation and you want to build up some sweat equity in that home, this is going to be a really great neighborhood to look into. I've created a vlog tour of the neighborhood, which looks like this little thumbnail here. If you click on that video at the end of this video, you're going to be able to tour the Grant neighborhood on foot with me. I have zero expectation that you remember any of this information, but when you are ready to purchase a home in Salem, you're gonna schedule a one-on-one consultation with me, and I'm gonna ask you questions to better understand what neighborhood is gonna fit your season of life best. So if you forget everything in this video, no problem, I've got your back. The next neighborhood on our list is the neighborhood of Englewood. The Englewood neighborhood is probably the furthest from downtown on this list, but in my opinion, it's still very walkable and easy to get to downtown Salem. The other neighborhoods on this list don't have easy accessibility to grocery stores, but there is a Safeway right next to Englewood, which is a huge highlight for anyone who does not like the idea of driving to the grocery store. Englewood is a really charming neighborhood, and most of the homes built there were constructed between the 1900s and 1940s. There is a newer section called East Englewood, and that was constructed in the 1950s. So yeah, newer is like as in still 70 plus years ago. It's an old area of town. In this neighborhood, you are going to find a lot of cottages and bungalow style homes here. And then as with the Grant neighborhood, there's also going to be a few 4-square homes and Cape Cod styles as well. For anyone who is working at the state or working downtown in any of those state facility buildings, this is going to be a very great neighborhood for you because it's the perfect marriage between walkability, but also having very easy access to I-5 I-5, which I know is super important for a lot of my friends watching this video. Englewood Park, which is located in the heart of this neighborhood, and it is a very charming park with a lot of beautiful old trees. Generally speaking, this neighborhood is typically more affordable than some of the other more popular neighborhoods in Salem, and that really is because of the location. And although this is a very walkable neighborhood, there are parts of Salem that are around this neighborhood that are not very savory. Up until this point, we've been talking about neighborhoods that are located on the north side of downtown Salem, but the last two on our list are actually going to be located south of downtown. The next neighborhood on our list is called Bush Park, and it's located just south of downtown, and it is right across the street from the Salem Hospital. I've also made a vlog tour about this neighborhood, so make sure to check out that video after this one. This is going to be a great neighborhood if you're a physician or you are a state worker and you really like the idea of walking to work and not having to think about your car. The Bush neighborhood is a designated historic neighborhood, so there are quite a few homes in this neighborhood that are on the National Registry of Historic Places. You're going to find that this neighborhood is partially in the McKinley Elementary District, and the other one is in the Bush District. So before you find a home here, verify those school boundary lines by calling the school directly. As the name suggests, this neighborhood is home to Bush Park, which is one of my personal favorite parks in all of Salem, mostly because you can feed the fat ground squirrels that live in the park. I mean, you're not supposed to feed them. You absolutely should not feed those cute squirrels. Beyond those cute ass squirrels, this park does have the Salem Art Fair every year, and it hosts other festivals like derby races and sports events in the arena. This park has two separate museums, a beautiful greenhouse that's open to the public, a play structure for the kiddos, and even an art gallery. If you're into the self-torture that is running, you are going to find that Bush Park is a great running spot, and it's generally flat, but there are some little hills to get your heart really bumping there. For all of my pickleball lovers out there, I cannot say that I dabble in your fantastic sport, but there are tennis courts in this park, and I know, tennis, pickleball, oh, you guys are on opposite ends of the spectrum, but I can tell you that I've seen people playing both pickleball and tennis in the tennis courts in Bush Park. The Bush Park neighborhood is another neighborhood that reminds me a lot of Portland, and it feels very much like a mini version of Laurelhurst if you are familiar with Portland at all. There is a rose garden in Bush Park, and there are some beautiful older houses that are landscaped around the park and are just very quintessentially cute. The last neighborhood on our list is called Fairmount Hill. Now, if I would have known about Fairmount Hill before I relocated to Salem, that would have been the neighborhood that I would have moved into. It is just that good. And I've also created another vlog tour about that neighborhood, which looks like this. I love that neighborhood so much. Anyways, this is an incredibly charming neighborhood, and it has larger, more luxurious homes than any of the other neighborhoods that we've been talking about. If this neighborhood is one that you're interested in, not all of the streets on Fairmount have sidewalks. If that's important to you, you might want to take Fairmount off of your list. This is also a neighborhood that's walkable to downtown, but I also feel like this is the least walkable on the list, simply because the path that you would need to take to actually get into downtown, you do have to cross and walk some of the busier streets of Salem. For example, Commercial or Liberty Street. I do feel like this is an important detail that you should be aware of if you are looking at the Fairmount neighborhood, potentially as one of the most walkable neighborhoods. This is the neighborhood that has the governor's mansion called Mahonia Hall, and I think that in itself really sets the caliber of homes that you're going to find in this area. There are some renovated homes in this neighborhood, but it is very common to also find homes that are in need of light renovations. residents. It is very rare that there's new construction going on in this neighborhood, and the only way that new construction occurs here is if somebody purchases a home and then they tear it down and rebuild a new property on that same parcel of land. The Fairmount neighborhood is really the neighborhood where the founders of Salem first built their mansions. So you're gonna find that the architecture is more grand than any of the neighborhoods that we were previously talking about. It is such a beautiful neighborhood to just walk in and take in the architecture and the old trees and the warm, cozy vibes that this neighborhood has to offer. If you find yourself saying, wow, that looks like a real cute neighborhood, you are gonna wanna watch the vlog that I made about this neighborhood, my friend. And again, that's gonna be linked at the end of this video. But we're not there yet. So let me tell you that the Fairmount neighborhood does have its own park, just like all the other neighborhoods on this list. But what sets the neighborhood apart from the other ones on this list, beyond the higher price tags of the real estate, is the fact that this neighborhood is very community centered. You're gonna be invited to Fairmount block parties, social gatherings, 4th of July parades, emergency preparedness nights, and just a whole bunch of other events that the neighborhood puts on for the residents of Fairmount Hill. As you've probably caught on by now, all of these walkable neighborhoods that are easily accessible to downtown, they do all come with older homes. And that's because when you think of Salem as being the capital, it didn't start to expand in the way that we see it today until the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Salem was a very centralized hub, and as you can see through the architecture of the homes, the further you move from downtown, the higher probability of the homes being newer. And I'm sure that's like many other cities around the US. As the city matures and gets older, the housing boundaries expand and the houses start to develop into suburbs. If you're wanting a walkable neighborhood in Salem, it's going to need to come with the compromise of having an older home. Now, that's not to say that you can't find a newer home in one of these neighborhoods or one that is totally renovated. You just need to be mindful that the home you end up purchasing is likely going to be an older home. If you enjoyed this video, you are going to want to watch one of these videos next. Bye, friends.